Hi friends, this is another part of the homeschool series that we're doing just to kind of go through how we do homeschooling in our house and within our family. So a big thing and a big part that shapes our homeschooling is the fact that we live in New York State. New York State is known for being a bit more difficult to homeschool in. There are there's very strict requirements that each family must meet in order to homeschool in New York. They were very daunting requirements. When I first was looking into it, I was really intimidated and scared. However, there is a huge support group. There's many support groups out there, families and professionals that put my mind to ease and was like, you got this, you know, New York, you'll be fine, you're good. And the fact that we actually are within a district that is very easy to work with is so helpful. You know, I'm not scared sending in my quarterly reports 4 times a year. They're supportive, they're helpful, and that really helps a ton, being that we're based in New York State. So in New York, you are required to submit 4 quarterly reports stating how they're progressing, if there are any changes to the curriculum, yada, 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 yada. So 4 times a year, I get my template out, so I'm able to follow my quarterly report template to submit to our school district how both boys are doing separately with the curriculum we've chosen for that particular school year. I have to make sure all the core subject requirements are being met, all the way down to visual arts and music and things like highway safety and patriotism and citizenship and oh gosh, there's I think bike safety in there, fire safety, they're not really little things. I mean, they're really big things, but they're like little subjects that you have to check the box to make sure that you have covered that somewhere in your curriculum for that school year for them. So New York State has very rigid requirements that need to be met. That being said, talking about our curriculum, we have, you know, Max and Sam. So Max and Sam are in 6th and 8th grade. And when we first started homeschooling, I was really didn't know what I was doing, so I bought a ton of curriculum and different things and was so rigid about it, and probably 25% of that curriculum I bought was going to work as intended at that time. I shelved a lot of it. I had to put it up because it was not working. They were crying, I was crying, it was just but we were learning. And right? We learn from our mistakes, like I said before. I have to get my hands in it. I need to be doing it to understand what actually needs to be done. So we learned. And we changed from a very rigid curriculum to a much more flexible, interest-based curriculum. So I am going to run you through what we do and what works for us. So over here is where I keep all of the boys' curriculum and their workbooks and resources that we are using for this particular school year. So up here I keep kind of all of our resource books, and then down here the boys have their workbooks. Like these are Sam's workbooks and then these are Max's workbooks. So taking a look at what makes up a core of our curriculum is we use a lot of funschooling. Funschooling is they make workbooks. You can get them, I think they've been on Amazon. You can go through their website. You can print out books or you can buy the hard copies. I really liked the flexibility that funschooling workbooks provided for a variety of subjects and skills and areas. It's absolutely amazing, and I highly recommend at least checking them out to see if their workbooks could work for your family or your child. So taking a look at like one of the funschooling books we use is the top 30 grammar mistakes. This is sorry, that's our bunny Chester. Yeah, that's Sam's bunny. Yeah, he likes to make a racket. Anyways, so one of the books is this, and I printed these out, which was more economical than buying the hard copy, because I would have to buy two, one for each kid, and instead I just bought the rights to print it out for our family and was able to print out as many as I needed for our family. So I print out these workbooks and then I bind them up with my Pro Click and you're good to go. So this is what I like to use with funschooling because it's flexible. If we take a look at this, United States geography, this is so awesome because the kids go through each state as we're learning about it. They go through each state and they learn the capital, they learn about different landmarks, they learn the population, the state motto, different attractions, just really cool. They draw a map of what can be found in that state or whatnot. So I really do like using funschooling for a lot of the core subjects. We use it for ELA, we use it for science, we use it for history and geography, we use it for arts and logic. So we use a lot of funschooling books, and most of which I have printed out myself. So I have the file and can print out however many I need for our family. Aside from funschooling, oh, actually I do want to show you this. This was the first funschooling workbook that we ever purchased, and it was based upon Minecraft, which was so cool because it was really interest-based for both of the boys. It's like a core workbook, which is kind of cool. You can cover science, social studies, ELA, math. There's just a ton of different activities in here on core subjects, but it's interest-based and it's open, so it can be whatever that child is learning about at that time. They can incorporate into this core workbook, so it's super flexible and easy to use and adaptable, which kind of fits our bill. So for math, we actually use Prodigy, which is an online service. It's free, or you can pay for a premium membership. And the boys really enjoy learning math through that service. It's video game based, which is fantastic because again, it's interest based for them. They enjoy it. And Sam, who is very strong in math, is able to keep mastering different skills and working his way up. And then when there are areas for Max where some math concepts are so hard for him, it just continues to build up that skill until it's mastered, and then boom, he can go on to the next skill that he needs to master. I like it because math is not my strong suit. Thank God for Joe being an engineer, because my brain has a really, really tough time with math. So having Prodigy there to help teach the boys a concept and also help me so I can teach them the concept and understand the concept too. It's a very, very useful educational tool to use for math. So we've been enjoying that so far. I mean, we also do a lot of life-based math. So the boys are working on building a chicken coop and a goat shelter. Well, they need to know the lengths of the wood, the perimeter, the area, different things like that. We also cover catechism, religious-based learning too, and we use Little Pilgrims. We bought a yearly subscription there, and it's actually really cool. It goes from everything from the basics of faith into delving into more deeper religion-based learning. So far so good. It was actually recommended to me by a friend of mine, and I was looking for something to help the boys learn catechism and get a really deep understanding of why we're Christians and the Christian faith, and it was hard to get them interested with something that was just in a workbook. So Little Pilgrims is online, and it's got videos and activity sheets you can print out, so you can not only use the video, but you can have them answer questions by writing. They have quizzes on there. You can assess to see how much of the material they're retaining. I really am enjoying using Little Pilgrims, and the boys are 12 and 13, and even at that age it's appropriate for them to use. So that's what we use for our catechism, religious-based learning. So for health, we have been using Dr. Bonafide. Actually, since last year, we decided to use this for our health. It's a 4-book set, and the boys completed books 1 and 2 last year, and then they're working on books 3 and 4 for this year. And Dr. Bonafide goes through all the different bones in the body, and really cool comic based learning to make it fun and ways for them to remember different bones all the bones. It goes through all the bones in the body, which is pretty impressive. And it does it in a way that's fun to read. It's not a ton of words being globbed together like a science textbook. It's little blurbs here and there for them to learn what that bone does or what system it belongs to. It's really, really, really cool. So that's what we've been doing for our health requirement. I do have the boys do copy work because I felt it's important for them to develop good handwriting skills. I don't push cursive or anything like that. I'm just really trying to have them have a nice base for their handwriting. So I printed out journals for each of them, and just their own personal copywork journal. And because over the past 2 years we've been studying for geography, the United States, we're going through all the states and learning about them using the funschooling workbook. I printed out off Teachers Pay Teachers the different, it's really cool. The United States of America handwriting, what they do is they trace the state and then they write it independently. They learn the state capital, and then they locate the state capital on a map that we have. So they're practicing handwriting while also learning about the states and their capitals. It's kind of like a twofer, which is fantastic. And we also do have independent reading time in the morning. They do their copy work and then they do some independent reading. So I have a ton of different books that the boys can choose to read. Like Max has a whodunit book, a bunch of detective stories. And Sam likes to read nonfiction. So he's reading about raising chickens, which he's gonna be doing in just a few short months. So they each get to pick out a book that they want to read. I don't force them to read certain books. I want them to be interest-based, what they would like to read, so that if they are going to enjoy reading, this fosters it. I'm not going to force them to read something that's just it's not going to help her. It's not going to help them to develop a healthy understanding and relationship and enjoyment of reading unless they are reading something that they themselves are personally interested in. So we decided to make this school year a homesteading theme, and it really got kicked off by the fact that the boys want to raise chickens and goats, and I was thinking between our gardening and everything else, like the canning and preserving our harvests, a lot of the stuff that we do incorporates different aspects of homesteading, and I wanted them to get a greater understanding and appreciation of really what encompasses homesteading. So we created a board that goes through different aspects such as self-sufficiency, preparedness, subsistence agriculture, homemade goods, homeschooling, renewable energy, home preservation, autonomy, which I feel is extremely important, and it's a concept that's important for them to understand. Really having a deep connection to the natural world, and homesteading is where the heart is. You know, we created this our first day, our technical first day. So we homeschool pretty much year round, but in September we created this to kick off the homesteading theme. And the boys took Post-its and they put down different ideas as to what they thought would constitute subsistence agriculture or self-sufficiency, and they took part in their education, really thinking about the different concepts that make up homesteading. So this is really a huge part of our homeschool for this year, and it may actually continue on over the next few years. So we have taken this homesteading theme and incorporated it across the curriculum board of all of our major core subjects, especially science. It's such a big piece of our science this year, learning through all things homesteading, animals, insects, gardening. I mean, there's so much involved. So we don't have like a science textbook that we just use. I have a lot of resources like raising dairy goats and the backyard homestead, and these are some of my favorite. Farm Anatomy by Julia Rothman, that's such a good one, and Food Anatomy and Nature Anatomy. This set is awesome. It's got beautiful illustrations and really a great resource. I mean, overall for any theme, but for homesteading, it's great. Even the Farm Anatomy book goes over barn styles, and it's just most beautiful pictures and just a great resource. So by using these different books, they're basically like textbooks, they're resources. We reference them as we're learning different concepts. Now, I also use Abundance Plus, which is a subscription service, much like Netflix or Amazon Prime or anything like that, where you stream shows. We subscribe to Abundance Plus, and it's basically all things homestead. It's great, and it makes for a wonderful resource for learning about permaculture, raising chickens, goats, gardening. You know, there's just so many awesome shows on there and resources for the boys and for Joe and I to learn from. So very often I will pull out their science funschooling journal. So if we're learning about permaculture, they'll get out their science workbook and open up to a page where they can jot down notes or draw a concept that they learned, such as using chickens in permaculture and how they can help with a garden, using animals in a way that makes your life easier and helps your homestead as a whole, things like that. It's really cool, and it's very flexible to be able to take those funschooling workbooks, incorporate our theme and our resources, and have the boys learn in something that they're interested in, and in your own way and at your own pace. Also, using the goats and the chickens, the boys are going to be building, along with Joe and I, their coop for the chickens and the goat shelter. And that is huge for math and science, because they are having to think about perimeter, area, conditions that are suitable for these animals. A ton of different things there are needed to be considered fall into these core subjects. Learning the meaningful math that goes along with the construction. I mean, we're converting a playset that was old and the boys outgrew, and we're turning that into a chicken coop, and it's really cool. And it's teaching primarily Sam, because Sam's gonna have the chickens and Max is gonna have the goats. But it's teaching him you can repurpose something, and okay, let's think outside the box. Let's get our materials we need. Let's calculate that. Let's find out where we need to cut. How many screws are we gonna need? How much hardware cloth are we gonna need? It's really a kinesthetic, hands-on learning experience that you just don't get from a textbook. So we're really enjoying that. So when we actually first started out homeschooling 2 years ago, we ordered primarily all of our curriculum through Timberdoodle, which I really do like that company. They provide a lot of divergent learning resources and curriculums, and they were super helpful with me trying to be a first-time homeschooler and trying to figure out what I should get for the boys. And they really helped put together a package. And while the curriculum I chose, we didn't really use continuously all through last year, all the resources that we did get and purchase, I utilize in our homeschool at different points. Just not in the way that I thought I was going to, in a very rigid, structure-based way. We will pull out the games that came with that curriculum at certain times because it just fits our schedule. So I really do like Timberdoodle. I highly recommend what they have to offer, and they're very, very helpful. If you're really interested in the critical thinking, divergent learning approach, they are hands down awesome. And they can make it easy for you too by putting together packages. You know, here's a 3rd grade package, or here's a 5th grade package, or you can piece together your own or swap things out sometimes too. Sometimes if you're like, I don't want that ELA portion, can I swap it with this? They can do that for you. Just very, very helpful company. So it is the next day. I wanted to include a lot of life skills into our curriculum. Natural things that we do every day, but yet things that should be taught and reinforced, so that the boys grow up with healthy habits, like, just self-care, cooking and baking skills, social skills. So these life skills are so important, and they are a cornerstone to the entire curriculum that we do. Every subject in some way incorporates life skills. So the chores, the cleaning, taking care of animals, social skills, just like going to the grocery store and giving money to the cashier, and understanding that social interaction is something that's so important, and we incorporate life skills like that throughout our curriculum. So thank you all for joining me for this video on our homeschooling. I hope it was helpful. There are going to be some links posted down below in the description box, basically referencing any company or resource that I talked about. I'm in no way affiliated with any of them, and I'm not receiving any compensation either. I truly just wanted to share what we use and what works for us and for our family. So I do hope this was all helpful. Thank y'all so much, and I will see you in the third video where I show you our homeschool area, all our supplies, how I plan, and how we schedule our homeschooling. Take care. Bye-bye.